welcome to Cojones Icons. And this week we've got a very special guest, and I mean very special. Let me give you a clue. Snooker, loopy, not so we're all snooker, loopy. All right, you might be a bit young for that. How about the modern reminder of oi, oi, oi. That's it. It is sports promoter legend, Mr. Barry Hearn. Barry, really, I can't say.
Big build-up.
It's a big build-up.
Big build-up.
And we're going to get. Maybe we can sing one of those songs together a bit later.
In your dreams.
In my dreams. Okay. Absolutely. Listen, as you often say, you've got to dream big and you've got to have ideas and go for it. Correct.
Correct. Well, that's the nature of sport and the nature of business.
Well, exactly. And we're going to ask you some questions on that. Yeah, it's great. It is great to speak to you. You're obviously a legendary sportsman, and this program is about having cojones, having balls, and you have shown over the years that in droves. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because you started off as an accountant, and my late father was an accountant, and they're not known to be big risk takers. They're kind of very steady and so forth. Would you consider yourself somebody who is by nature and always has been a risk taker?
No, I don't think so. I think I take risks like accountants take risks most of the time. It's calculated risks. You know, only an idiot takes risks without having any knowledge. So you have to acquire the knowledge first. I mean, risk, you know, we risk walking down the street during the day. So the risks in business are much easier to identify, and the sensible ones amongst us, of which I think I count myself as one, calculate the risk-reward ratio on each event or each sport you're involved in. Whilst it might appear to those with no knowledge that you are taking a huge risk, the nature of the deal is that in fact you've eliminated the risk but still give the impression that you're taking a risk.
Well, that is an insight. I mean, you are an ideas man, and you're known as a salesman, someone who sells ideas and creates ideas and goes forward with ideas, because of course the whole notion of an idea, if you don't actually take action, then it's merely a dream. And I've heard you speak and say, if you don't do something, don't talk about it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's easy ways of saying everyone has ideas, but how many of those people actually put those ideas into practice? You know, we can all live sitting at home quietly in our living room thinking of things that can change our life. The difference between that and entrepreneurs is that entrepreneurs tend to go out and try it, do it, hopefully make it successful. If not, be prepared to fail. The other side of it, risk taking, is also common sense idea is if you've got nothing, then you're not really taking much of a risk, are you? You're risking nothing. The real risk is when you've got plenty and then you risk what you've already got.
But haven't you done that before?
My risks are all worked on the back of significant budgets, on a genius understanding of logistical and market exploitation. You know, people think you just invent yourself as a P.T. Barnum and Bailey, the showmaster. That's misty mirrors. That's, you know, that doesn't really happen. But it's an image you like to portray because it's an image the public expect. You know, with me coming from the East End of London from a very working class background, most people think I'm a barrow boy. Well, they don't realise I'm a genius. Financial, logistical, research, target market genius. That's what I specialise in, and it comes
with great self-belief as well.
And it comes with a huge amount of background work to make sure that my basic principles, my foundations, are in place. It's not. I don't do knee-jerk reactions. Have an idea, go and do it. Most of the good ideas I have take 2 or 3 years before they come to fruition, because I'm attentive to every single detail. What could go wrong, what could go right, where's my opposition, what's my target audience, what's the market research on a particular project. Those things, no one ever sees that work because hundreds and hundreds of events actually don't pass the Barry Hearn litmus test. They don't happen, and you never hear of them.
No.
You hear of what comes through that procedure. And that's why the better you are at doing that type of preliminary work, the less the risk is involved.
Failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
Correct, exactly right. That's one of the best things you could ever say. If you do your homework, you'll pass the exam. When I was studying to be a chartered accountant, I was no genius at all. But I ended up as the...
But didn't you just say you were a genius?
Yeah, no, I was no genius in those days. I'm a genius now. But then I'm old now. Well, old people are allowed to be genius. We've got grey hair. I'm old. But the difference is, when I was studying, I knew I didn't have any huge amount of natural intelligence. So I just put the hours in and memorised every single page of every single book. I couldn't fail. So that was all in the preparation, and that principle has stayed with me from that day.
Can I ask you, I've seen an interview where you've actually said that when you discovered Steve Davis, or where you suddenly came into the snooker world, you said that was a moment of luck. You see, actually there's a book called The Luck Factor, which kind of breaks luck down. I think luck is the meeting of preparation and opportunity. If you hadn't have come across Steve Davis, you would have done something else that was grand and grandiose, wouldn't you?
Possibly. Difficult to say, really. I think, someone once said it's much better to be born lucky than good looking, and that's definitely true. The interesting thing for me about people and in all walks of life is every single person in this universe is individual. Now, DNA is slightly different to someone else. It follows, therefore, that every single person is better at something than everybody else. They have a uniqueness. The sadness is that most people don't discover what that uniqueness is because they don't either have the opportunity or the cojones when they see the opportunity to make it count. When you can be the smartest man on this universe. If you don't have that little bit of luck, you're out the game. We all need a touch somewhere. For me, it was Steve Davis walking in. Now, I don't know. I may be by now, what would I be? Prime Minister or something? Maybe. I'm not sure that's a good job. I'm not sure that's lucky. But I don't know what I would have done because there's no point in me spending my time thinking about something that didn't or won't happen now. That would be counterproductive. What I do know is it was an enormous bit of luck when Steve Davis walked into a billiard room.
But you saw the opportunity in that luck.
Listen, looking back on it, I saw the opportunity. At the time, I didn't really. At the time, I was just having fun. There was no downside. There was no risk. Looking after Steve Davis, where's the risk? What's he going to do? As it turned out, he ended up being the best player in the world to hold a cue. Okay, wow. That was a bit of luck. It could have been anybody. I didn't have enough specialist information to say he was better than Ray Reardon or better than Alex Higgins. I had no idea. I saw dedication, I saw commitment, I liked the kid, we became friends, we rolled the dice, we made fortunes, and the rest is history.
But you didn't, I remember, I've heard you said again that you didn't know what you were doing, you just learnt on the way, and that is something that you need to do in any walk of life.
Well, you do learn on the way, obviously, and you make a load of mistakes, and what you try to do is not make the same mistake twice. A lot of people said, I think it was Anara Bevan that once said, if I haven't made 12 mistakes by lunchtime, I'm still in bed. We all make mistakes. There's no one, as much of a genius as I am in what I do, I still make mistakes. I don't make anywhere near as many as I used to because I've learnt from those mistakes. And experience is something you can't buy. You have to live experience. You start off with the enthusiasm of youth. We talk about risks. We don't really think risks when you're young in the same way young boxers don't think about risks when they first get in the ring. They do it because they want to fight.
Yeah.
In business, you don't think about risk because you want to be successful. And if you've got nothing to lose, in a way, it's not a risk at all, is it? The risk is in life whether you turn left or turn right at a junction. Do you go the wrong way and make bad decisions with bad people, or do you go the right way? Again, that's parental guidance, a little bit of luck, and something about your DNA, what's in your genes of your family and the people around you. When you talk about the opportunities that exist, the real risks come later in life when suddenly you have responsibilities, you have a family, you have a wife, you have a mortgage. That puts a different risk factor on. When you're poor and you've got nothing, there's nothing to lose. When you've got established finance or commitments, you have a lot to lose. And those type of people at certain stages of their life, it's very difficult to make a quantum career change once you get through that first 10, To make a career change in your 30s is far tougher and far riskier than making a career change in your 20s.
Talking about you, because obviously it is about you, seeing you on TV, seeing interviews with you, you're a very, you've got an unbelievable energy. And I don't mean physical energy, I mean a kind of aura, which is infectious. But you talk about the ordinary person going to a night out and forgetting his problems, etc. What makes you extraordinary, in your opinion?
I'm the king of the working class. As my wife would tell me, it don't matter how much money I've got, don't matter what I make, I'll always be working class. And actually, I'm quite proud of that. I want to stay close to my roots. I think I understand a little bit more than most, about what the average man wants to do with the limited amount of money he has at his disposal. Some of my customers will spend £10,000 on a ringside ticket and not turn a hair. But there's plenty of people out there, the difference between 20 quid and 15 quid is the difference between whether they go to an event or can't afford to go. So I've got to develop a structure that's for everybody, not just for the players to participate. Where I came from, I was very fortunate even to be allowed to get a chance to be a chartered accountant, because my dad was a bus driver and my mum cleaned houses. Not the greatest, I had no business background. I got lucky and I made the most of it. That's the key issue. Similar with sport, you have to give kids the chance, which is why some of the big popular sports in this country are going backwards. If you look at golf, for example, I love to play golf, but it's not available to everybody. There are too many barriers to entry joining a golf club, set of expensive. The average kid coming off an industrial estate where I come from never played golf. That was for the rich blokes. We played football or we went fighting, we went to the gym or something like that. So we have to cater for a changing marketplace. I always wanted to be heavyweight champion of the world. Unfortunately, I found out I couldn't fight. That was a bit of a blow at the time, but I got over it. I'm in awe of people with ability. And what it does, I infuse, because I want to watch the very best play at their peak. I know they need a platform to do that, and I'm in a position to provide the platform. I'm enjoying my life more now at 69, with 541 event days this year. Apart from Christmas Day, there is not one day in the year there isn't a matchroom event somewhere in the world. And that keeps me buzzing and alive and keeps me productive.
But what is the difference between you and the ordinary person? Let's say the ordinary person was looking at Barry Hearn. How could I model myself?
Well, they don't.
Barry Hearn, to take myself from the ordinary to the extraordinary.
They don't. Most people, the one ingredient I have that I don't find in many people is my work ethic. The people see you as Jack the lad, bit of a flash boy, plenty to say for himself, which is the public image. That's okay, doesn't upset me. What they don't see is the endless hours of preparation, the sacrifice. I sacrifice or I prepare as well as any heavyweight boxing champion, as any darts player, tennis player, whatever. The work that goes into making sure that I know what I'm talking about and I have a product and I can sell that product, I have to believe in it. If I believe in it, I'm a very good salesman, because my passion and my enthusiasm will shine through, and I will bring people towards me and make the experience of working with my company a pleasure for them as well. So, but people talk about ideas and then go home at 5 o'clock. People ask me about, how do you improve productivity in my company? I say, it's very easy. Start an hour earlier and finish an hour later. It's automatic. But people talk about making a sacrifice or paying a price, and they have no idea what that price really is. You have to live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, motivated to be better at everything you do. And the day you sit down and say, I don't really care, or I've cracked it, or that'll do me, you might as well pack up. For me, I will stay doing this until I keel over, because it's my whole life. And that enthusiasm is driven into my children, my daughter on television productions, my son on the boxing. Behind all of those, and especially Eddie's a great example because he's better promoter than I was ever at boxing. No one sees the hours he puts in, 16, 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. And everyone goes, what a lovely life you've got. We love it. It's in our genes. That's what we want to do. But it's not for everybody. And there are plenty of people out there who don't want the responsibility of that. They just want to get a job, have a nice life, wife and 2 kids, and carry on. And good luck to them. Other people have a calling. They want to be a nurse. They want to be a priest. They want to be a teacher. Great. Good luck to them. A very small percentage of people say, I want to do something different. And the entrepreneurial society, if you like, in other words, that's in, it don't matter where you come from. You look at the big house on the hill when you're living in the small house at the bottom of the road, you have a dream. You have the same dream a sportsman has the first day he picks up a cricket bat, the first day he picks up a tennis racket. There just is a little tingle and you think, this is what I was put here to do.
And that's what you've got.
And I have found the one thing that I'm better at than anyone else in the world.
Promoting sports.
Untouchable.
What would you do if you hadn't had, and I mean this in the nicest possible way for our viewers, of course, what would you do, what would you have done without the balls that you have?
Well, the whole point of that is it's nice to think there's a black and white description, of course there's not. And also, we can only speculate because what happens has happened and I'm sitting here now. The difference is, you know in your heart of hearts, whatever happened, you would be successful at something. Whatever you turned your hand, if the same rules that you've applied to the business you're currently in, which is successful, had you put that effort, that time, that intellect into something else, it's pretty certain you'd have been successful up to a certain level. The little ingredient of luck is what differentiates between being a terrific, good operator to being world class. And it not necessarily, it can come at any time. If I go through my life, I can think of half a dozen things that had they not happened, had my mother not told me when I was 12 years old I was going to be a chartered accountant, because the man whose house she cleaned said, you never see a poor one. That line stuck with me my whole life. I never wanted to be poor. Had Steve Davis not walked in to the snooker hall and became my best friend 42 years ago, who knows? Had the BBC not decided to put snooker on mainstream television, would it have been a success? You know, this goes on and on and on. Had suddenly, when I went to America and I saw ESPN, and I thought one day sports channels will come across the Atlantic, and when they do, they're going to need programming. There isn't any programming. Why don't we go out and create loads of events? That's what cost me so much money in the 80s. It was an investment, by the way. It was an investment in people and an investment in events that I believe were going to pay dividends, and it ended up paying me back in spades. But I had the vision to see what was coming. That's the speculation where you need a bit of luck built on decent market research and a brain that says, how can I entertain people?
And hard work. I've got one last question before we wrap up. And you know, you've obviously said you're the happiest man in the world. You're full of positivity. But underneath, as all of us, we've all got Achilles heel. You must have some fears, some negative self-talk. Is it all, as you say, that's the front? What's behind the front?
I think the sheer vulnerability of humans is the only weakness I have.
So what are you scared
My
of?
father had 5 heart attacks before he died at 45. I'm 69, I've only had 1, so I'm doing really well. The only thing that can affect me in a bad way is a health issue between me or my family. So far, I've been blessed, but you know, it's only a matter of time. The secret, knowing that we all have our sell-by date, is to maximise. As my father was never an inspiration to me. He sat in a chair for about 10 years waiting for his next heart attack before he died. And the only thing he ever said to me, which has really stuck with me, because he was no inspiration at all, was make the most of every day, because you don't know how many days you've got left. And that is the way I run my life. So I will give 110% every day, and hopefully when I do finally go upstairs to that snooker hall in the skies, it will be an explosion rather than a whimper. But
And you'll get the chance to have a few frames with Joe Davis and all the greats.
So, on super crystallite balls on bad cloth. The difference, I think, really is at the end of the day is I can't have a negative thought in my body on anything at any time. If I'm doing something, perhaps even if I'm doing it badly, I will convince myself this is the way. Generally, I'm right. If I'm not, I try and get out of it and get shot of bad ideas as quickly as possible. But if you lack self-belief, how do you honestly expect other people to believe in you? You have to lead by example.
Well, Barry, I really could sit and talk to you all day. Before we go, we do have our crackerjack moment, or blankety blank check with a pen moment. We have the... wait a minute. Let me give them this first. This is the classic steel balls for a man with steel balls. For you, Barry, just a little blankety blank check with a pen type icon.
Thank you.
And we've also got...
Oh, not the
He's
t-shirt.
a very tall man, is Barry. How tall are you, Barry?
6'1".
Oh, 6'1". Well, he's pretty
Moderate.
He's taller than the average. So I did bring an extra large, but it's the Cojones t-shirt, limited edition, for the legend, which is Mr. Barry Hearn. And Barry,
I shall wear it with pride, sir.
Oh, well, that's nice. Listen, thank you very much for coming on.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. This guy is an inspiration to me, and I hope to everybody watching. Follow us on @RealCojones. Follow us on Facebook. We'll see you next time. Thank you.